To call Charlie Kaufman's work great is going to barely scrape the surface of how extraordinary every film that he writes is. With every new project he releases, he explores humanity, love, and quite frankly, the meaning of life. Not only are his films able to connect with an enormous number of people, but they also feel personal. He likes to tackle issues that speak to everyone, yet connect to each of these people on an individual level. In his latest film, Anomalisa, he's able to explore the state of relationships in an ever-changing 21st century. In this video, I will be discussing spoilers, so if you have not seen Anomalisa, make sure you do so before watching this video. In the film, we follow a depressed, self-indulgent, and lonely motivational speaker who spends a trip to Cincinnati trying to find happiness in his life, but in doing so, he pushes himself further into self-hatred and depression. Michael Stone is not a lovable character. He does not have an enviable life, yet, at least to an extent, the audience is going to sympathize with him. And that is because we see ourselves as him. Whether or not you like him, in a 90-minute movie, he goes through the emotional rainbow of happiness, depression, grief, and solitude. I don't mean to speak for everyone, but it would be safe to assume that most people have felt a combination of these emotions, and because of that, we see our problems in Michael. Let's continue our discussion of Michael because he is one of the more interesting characters released in the past few decades of filmmaking. Michael is someone who feels like an outsider. For one, he is from another country, he's from England, and that makes people make assumptions about him. When he is in the taxi, the driver tries to reach out to him to make small talk on the way to the hotel, but instead of embracing the companionship of the other man, he rejects it. And maybe rightfully so, the driver very clearly doesn't understand his culture and tries to emulate it, which ends up, quite frankly, being insulting. But throughout the entire movie, we can see people trying to reach out to him, however, he only embraces the negativity. The opening scene shows off the contrast perfectly. On one hand, when the plane lands, the man sitting next to him reaches out to him for support, trying to connect with him on a personal level. However, Michael does not give back his support, and instead only coldly rejects the other man. This isn't him trying to reject him in a sexual manner, but instead it acts as a metaphor for someone trying to connect with him, and we see how he responds to that. He doesn't even give it the light of day. Before that, he took a letter out from his wallet from his wife, which was written at a time when he walked out on her. Yet despite this letter obviously being very negative, he still reads it, he still looks at it, and he still holds on to it. The letter is from 1995, and the film is set in 2005, so he puts a lot of emotional value into this letter, despite it really not being as relevant to his life anymore. He is someone who chooses to make himself unhappy. This letter is going to bring him nothing but misery, yet he still wants to have it on him to remind him of how miserable he is. Once he arrives at the hotel, which is, quick note, named the Frigoli and refers to the mental condition in which someone believes that many people are actually a single person who change their appearance or are disguised, the same as the puppets in this movie. But once he is in the hotel, he starts to be recognized because of his accomplishments as a writer, particularly in customer service. His career is very significant, if for no reason other than he hates most people. Yet his line of work is one that requires him to be with a lot of people and interact with him. Yet this is exactly what he doesn't want to do. Towards the end of the film, when he is giving his motivational speech, he talks about the importance of individualism, learning who people are and what they stand for and what defines their life and the humanity of it. In fact, take a listen to it right here.
Always remember the customer is an individual.
In all reality, he doesn't actually get to know most people who he talks to. He treats them like inanimate objects. Quick note, let's not forget that the people in this world are inanimate objects. But because he doesn't act like people are actually people, he doesn't worry about what they think of him. He just does his job and moves on. He doesn't connect with anybody. Lisa is the one person whom he does connect with, but he treats her poorly. He doesn't actually love her. He loves the idea of her. He loves the idea of someone being different and tries to take advantage of that. In all reality, Lisa is someone who is meant to be portrayed as somewhat feeble-minded. She makes mistakes and she's clumsy, and Michael takes advantage of her to cheat on his wife. However, the next morning when they wake up, she begins to do small mannerisms that start to annoy him. These are small things like the way she eats or uses the fork. To him, the magic that made him care for her is gone. He isn't annoyed at these things that she does. He is annoyed that she isn't a perfect person, that she has flaws, just like everyone else. Part of what makes her stand out to him is that she is a flawed person. Yet, once he begins to spend time with her, he realizes that she isn't perfect, and to him, that isn't good enough. Of course, he himself is far from perfect and is willing to admit that. What he wants is everyone around him to be perfect while he can remain imperfect. He wants the people around him to be one way while he can remain another. He wants to be different, just like he is because he's English. He wants people to change or simply to not be around him. Upon his return from the trip, his wife throws a surprise party for him to try and celebrate him and his accomplishments. But he doesn't want that. He wants to be left alone, to not have to deal with other people. The act of kindness on her end only troubled his life more as he questions who these people are around him. This film is also able to question the American dream. For decades, if not centuries, the American dream was laid out as simply as possible. Work hard, spend time with the people you love, and you should be happy. But as Michael shows in this film, that simply doesn't always work. He has what a lot of people consider to be the American dream. He has a high-paying job, he is famous, at least to an extent, he has a wife and a son, but in the end, these relationships are all superficial. He doesn't like doing his job, he's good at it, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't care about his wife, who in turn doesn't really care about him. He wants to like his son, but his son is so caught up in otherworldly things like being a pirate or playing dress-up that his son doesn't relate to him. He tries doing something nice for his son, but that backfires. In fact, most everything in his life ends up backfiring on him. Everything he does in his life to try and become happy makes him unhappy. So, what's the point? What is this movie saying? The biggest theme is that nothing is perfect. It's impossible to find something in your life that is going to make you truly happy, and nothing is going to last forever. Michael is someone who holds on to the past and tries to keep it alive today, when in reality, the past is the past, and nothing is going to be as great as it once was. Despite that sounding cynical, there's a silver lining to it, and that is that the small things in life are what count. Conversations with others and connecting with others. Don't surround yourself with people you're expected to. Surround yourself with the people who are going to make you happy. In addition, different doesn't mean bad. Michael thinks that everything in his life has to be perfect, and if it's not, it's bad, which is simply not true. When Lisa is writing to him at the very end, she tells him that Anomalisa means goddess of the sun in Japanese, but this serves to show that everything under the sun has flaws, and it's about embracing those flaws to become truly happy. Thank you so much for watching. It is awesome to be able to talk about a movie that is as deep and as complex as Anomalisa. Obviously, there is a whole lot more that can be talked about, and I'd love to have a conversation in the comments below. Next week, we are going to be looking at Ghostbusters, the original one, and why it's such a great movie and such a fantastic comedy. There's a link to that on the right of the screen, and on the left is my last video when we discussed Prisoners. Thanks again for watching.
Days and dawn on